Hi everyone, a very good afternoon to all of you. Welcome back to Successpedia Asia's Journey to Success Resilience series. I'm Desmond here, your host for the afternoon. Hope everyone is doing fine in this COVID-19 situation and a pandemic outbreak, and I hope everyone is safe and healthy at home or wherever you are. If you're out there at work doing the front line fighting the whole COVID, I wish you well, and we hope that Successpedia Asia is truly appreciative of all the things that you have done. So in this series, in today's episode 12 of the series, we are glad to have someone that is with us in the marketing scene for a very long time. And he is the director of performance for Happy Marketeers. So he's going to share a lot of stuff with us. Stay with us as long as you can, ask us questions, share our video, share our live feed so that more marketers out there can actually come in to catch this. So without further ado, let me welcome and invite Terrence Quah on stage with us. Hi, Terrence.
Hey, Desmond. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. I mean, it is our pleasure to have a marketing guru with us instead, more than we're honored, truly. Yeah. So without further ado, Terrence, why don't you give an introduction to our audiences about yourself?
Okay. So hi guys, my name is Terrence. I'm the performance of director at Happy Marketer, a Merkle company which is part of the Dentsu Aegis network. Well, I've been with Happy Marketer since I guess 2015, about there. Where I started off in the areas of account management, where I did the strategic planning and execution for local and regional marketing efforts for clients like Standard Chartered, DHL, Pandora, NTU, and some of the airlines, among others. Since then, I was given an opportunity to head the Digital Command Center practice that was launched in 2018, where we help brands proactively handle customer care, manage their online reputation, and monitor the competition. I guess that was the most memorable period for me because, the main objective of the whole initiative, the whole practice, was to really empower CMOs in their teams to make informed decisions in a way that they can improve their customer experience based on real-time actionable insights. And since then, since 2018, I helmed the digital strategy team for about a year and a half, where I was recognized as the agency account manager of the year at the Marketing Talent Awards in 2019. And currently, I'm working with Vishal, to drive the growth for the performance team here at Happy Marketer.
Right. So I'm just curious, why is it called director of performance? Yeah. So I was having my director of performance. So in arts and media scene, or in media scene like me, performance means I'm a director of performance. I direct a performance, a dance performance. Yeah. So what difference is that?
Well, you'll be surprised how many invites I've gotten on LinkedIn, asking me if I was interested in looking at plays and stuff like that. So I guess the title, I think they didn't go through my LinkedIn profile, if you consider that, all my credentials are there. But the reason why we call it director of performance is because we're not just looking at marketing, right? Marketing is just about being out there in the market, trying to push a product. Performance, it goes beyond that. We look at how we can get the maximum ROI for our clients. And it's not just in terms of clicks, impressions, but because we also look at programmatic and other aspects. The objective here isn't just sales. The objective here is really helping the clients to understand their business goals. And the question is, hey, the actions that we're taking, are we really in alignment with that business goal? I think this is something that Happy Marketer has always been very particular about, and which is why we chose to call it the practice, to call it performance rather than just marketing or advertising or even a trading desk.
Right. You guys don't hold any branding rights to that word, right? So I can actually say that. Can I?
You can reach out to my partners about that. I'm not too sure if we hold branding rights. I don't think so for now, but yeah, something to consider.
No. Yeah, I'm saying that because personally, I like it. I like how Happy Marketers actually brand your the things that you do under the performance. And yeah, so when you first told me about it, your title has changed. I was like, oh my goodness, this is really something very interesting, and I like it. I like it personally. All right. Yeah, your friends are saying hi to you. You want to say hi to them? This is Prantik.
Hey, Prantik.
Prantik, saying he's proud of you. And then we also have Mila Anwar saying Hi to you.
I think those are from the Happy Marketers gang. So if you want to ask about that copyright for performance marketing, look for Prantik. He's my boss.
Oh,
Yeah.
hi. Okay. All right. So going into the conversation or the discussion proper, right? I just want to ask you, we take marketing a bit off now. So probably can you share a bit of your thoughts? What do you think of the current COVID-19 situation? And in your opinion, or what do you think the impact is in globally or even in Asia or Singapore?
Well, that's a very broad question. I
Yeah,
think let's
yeah,
start
yeah,
first. Let's start with being very honest.
Mm.
And set the settings correct. I think, to be honest, there isn't a return to what life was like anytime soon when you get hit by a black swan event such as COVID-19, right?
Yep.
I think if you look at it beyond the impact on the economy and everything else, the very nature of the pandemic has changed the way we live our daily lives, right?
Yes.
And even the priorities that we have towards things. I mean, even until today, you still see people running around without masks where the government has to take very drastic action, whereas the rest of the majority of the population, I hope, are choosing to quarantine themselves at home because it means playing their part, to help bring down the curve as soon as they can. So if we're looking at going back in terms of what was exactly the way it was, small chance of that, but that doesn't mean that we cannot recover from it, right? Yeah, I think if you look at it from a social perspective, personally for me, I feel that the pandemic has been a time of forced reflection. Because as working adults, I'm sure many, if not all of us, have complained about how we don't have enough time to pursue the things that interest us. But now, literally, we have all day at home. We spend 24 hours a day at home unless you're going out for a grocery run or to get something essential. We no longer have that excuse. And I think many people are starting to realize that it's not a matter of time, but about discipline and prioritization. And I think for many Singaporeans and generally in Asia, measures like what the circuit breaker, or whether is it total isolation that has kicked in, it's given us a taste of what life after retirement could be like if we don't actively plan for it. Now, don't worry, I'm not an insurance agent. I don't have a part-time job. But if you think about it, how does circuit breaker have anything to do with retirement? Now, if you take a step back, I think many of the things that we've taken for granted, such as going out to do our hobbies, whether it's cycling, basketball, etc., or even the ability to go out to have a meal with our family members when we want to, this is no longer available to us because of the movement restrictions imposed on us by the circuit breaker, right?
Yep.
Now, if you look at it on social media platforms, and I think many other community platforms as well, I think people are starting to realize that if we're not actively engaging in financial planning, we could be facing similar living conditions when we hit retirement age. Now, this is important because this could result in a shift in personal values, especially for the region, because retirement is not something that many Asians are actively thinking about. It's a topic that most people are like, hey, don't worry, let's get past today first. Let's earn money, save money. Not many people actually think about, hey, what am I doing for retirement? Do I have a plan for it? Am I able to maintain my current lifestyle? Currently, we are forced to stay at home to help for a better cause. But if we don't actively look at it, and I think more and more people are realizing it, we could be in the same situation, but we are being forced to because of a lack of financial freedom, I guess.
Right. So I guess what you are saying is also with regards to apart from waiting for our CPF, we should have. No, let's face it. There was a period of time where a lot of Singaporeans are just waiting for their CPF. Like, oh, okay, wait, I will retire at a certain age. I don't care how much I save. I wait for a CPF. It was only until the government started to push the CPF up a bit, the boundaries a bit up further, then they start to get worried, and then that's where you see people getting unhappy about it because they were not ready. So I guess after this situation, everyone is more mindful that we cannot wait for that. We have to be prepared further.
Yeah, agree. Totally agree with you. And if you look at it from a CPF perspective, how many of us are actually investing our monies in the CPF, which we're allowed to do so? I don't think many of us are. So, it's a very laid-back perspective. So, this could change due to the pandemic. Now that we have more time to think and realize, hey, is this a lifestyle I really want?
Right. Okay. So, talking about CPF, let's go into economy. How do you think the economy is actually impacted?
Wow.
Sorry, I'm throwing you tough questions. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is a pretty direct questions. if I were to look at it from an economic perspective, I think the first thing we need to look at is the largest economy in the world, which is the United States, right? If I remember correctly, about last week, the US Labor Department had actually they had reported that there were about 22 million, 22 million
22 million.
unemployment claims in just the last 4 weeks. And if you look at it, this is the largest economy in the world, and you got 22 million unemployment claims in a month. I don't think it's a very good sign. And if you look at it globally, the IMF and I think even the National Labour Organizations, they're reporting that they're expecting the pandemic to push unemployment rates up, and it could trigger the worst fall since the Great Depression in the 1930s. And that was, I think that was about early part of March when that article first came out. But if you look at it in Asia, somewhere a bit closer to home, factories are being shut down in China. Even manufacturing in Japan has stopped. And I think it's a sign of how severe the things are right now. And if we're not careful about it, we could go into a full-blown recession, because even neighboring countries like Philippines, I think they've been hit pretty bad by the pandemic, and they have a travel restriction being enforced right now. But if you look at its GDP, about 10% comes from overseas remittance, like from countries like we mentioned earlier, the US, UAE, Saudi Arabia. And these are countries where the layoffs have continued to climb. So for certain countries like that, the stoppage of work locally, and if you combine it together with the layoff that is happening overseas, I think many families will be facing a lot of uncertainty in the next couple of weeks as their savings starts to dry out.
Right. So, but you have mentioned about the layoff of the unemployment rate in US. So let's bring the topic back to Singapore. So in Singapore itself, the unemployment rate is definitely going to increase. I mean, we hope not, but we facing reality, it will, right?
I think in the short run, it will. But I think in response to the current pandemic, many governments have implemented economic policies to stimulate their economies as much as they can and to protect the citizen. If I remember correctly, I'm sorry, don't quote me on this, but I think if I remember the numbers offhand, Singapore itself has committed about $60 billion in the 3 stimulus packages so far. It's about plus minus there.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think as a Singaporean, I'm satisfied, that the government is doing so much. It's not because they have spent about 12% of our GDP on it, or because they've given us, I think, a $600 payout. I think last week, most of us received it earlier this week. I don't think it's really because of that. But I think what gives me the confidence in the way at least Singapore is managing this issue right now is the way we've approached it. Now, if you look at it, because I was medically trained, so I was following this reports earlier on when it came out in January that, hey, there's this flu-like symptom going on in China, right? But even before the first cases were reported here in Singapore, I think the government has established a multi-agency task force that was chaired by 2 ministers. I think it's the Health and National Development Ministers, if I'm not wrong, with representation from the public services. And this gave us sufficient time to plan for contingencies. And if I remember my numbers correctly, I think in Singapore itself, we had about a 40% detection rate of the COVID-19 infections through contact tracing, even when the individuals were asymptomatic, right? And I think this is something that's been recognized, by the world as something that is the gold standard in terms of what could have been done to really prevent the infection from spreading.
Yes. Yeah, talking about the spreading of the infection, yes. The recent spike is also not because of the failed function of our tracing program, because the tracing program has really proved that it works, and a lot of people were sent for early testing because the tracing was very sharp. But it's only because of the recent dormitory that caused the spike, the foreign workers, which I truly feel for them, Yeah.
So I think the foreign workers have, you're right. The numbers mainly came from the foreign workers.
Yes.
And the percentage of Singaporeans that new cases are rather low for now. I'm hoping it stays that way. We can get to the peak as fast and flatten out the curve. But I think talking about contact tracing, in the case of dormitories, there's nothing much you can really do about it because everybody is staying in such close quarters. But I think for the rest of the country, the reason why local numbers are so low is because, I'm not sure how many of you know this, but the Singapore government actually took a very unorthodox approach towards the contact tracing. So what they did was that they had actually deployed officers from the CID, if I'm not wrong, and I mean from the police force, to be involved in the contact tracing process, because to them it's like, hey, it's the same investigation methods as to trace back their steps, one at a time, to make sure that we know who they've been in contact with and we can isolate the case. So I think that has really helped to reduce the numbers. But I think there's also a part that most of us don't realize, is that the Singapore government has motivated, or at the very least removed, the barriers for people to come forth for testing very early on, because it's not just about contact tracing, which is reactive, but also proactively saying that, hey, all medical expenses related to testing and the treatment of the COVID-19 will be covered, and that to compensate you for the loss of income, we are giving you, I think if I'm not wrong, $100 a day if you had to be quarantined. So I think these measures stop the spread pretty fast in its tracks. It's not just a punishment or reactive approach. We're also offering a carrot to say that, hey guys, let's take this seriously. Let's work together as a single country, as a single nation, to really stop this in its tracks. So if you take this together in consideration of how we've released the packages in 3 parts rather than a single large package, you realize that the Singapore government doesn't just create contingency plans, but I think it also staggers them, so that the government is able to respond quickly to a certain portion first, evaluate its effectiveness before making adjustments, which is, to me, is it's very similar to how analytics is being done. You look at the data, you see what needs to be changed, you try it, you implement, you see the results, and you double down on it. So to me, that is a very scientific, very data-driven approach, which is why I have a little bit more confidence than if I would be, say, in another country like the US.
I definitely agree with that. Yeah. So we were talking about since we are talking about the government, some of the policies that they roll out, like including those that is supporting the business, the SME sectors, and then supporting individuals, like you say, the $600 payout, and then schemes that Singapore is trying to create more jobs. If I'm not wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was announced in the second resilience budget that Singapore is going to government is going to put up like 10,000 jobs or 100,000 jobs over the next 6 to 9 months, 10 months.
I think the number of jobs, while they are trying, I can't remember the number of them, to be honest. But I think if you look at the underlying message of the packages rather than the individual packages, because if you compare it from a sheer amount, our numbers are not the biggest in terms of the pure, the sheer value of the dollar value of the packages that we're releasing. But if you look at the percentage, I think we've spent about 12%, I mentioned earlier, of the GDP on this. And the idea here is not to give people a handout, but is to reduce the impact that, hey, this is really tough times. We are definitely going to be affected one way or the other. But it's not all doom and gloom, right? Because if you look at it objectively, this unemployment, a large part of it is due to the direct results of the quarantine measures, such as the restriction of movement, and even commerce between countries, as they try to control the pandemic. But I think the message here is that, hey guys, let's take a hit. We as the government, we're ready to go through this together with you. And once the curve flattens out, the road to recovery can restart. But till then, all of us need to tighten our belts a little as a nation, and we can get through this together. I think that's what the real message is there, that we can surpass this rather than just focusing on, hey, $600, it's only enough for groceries for a month or two. If there's a further need, I believe the government will. I think the Minister of Finance has also mentioned that they are going to dip into the reserves further to fund all this to protect the nation's interest if we have to.
Okay, Terrence, we have a hard question here. All right. Do you think our government's enforcement to the public to wear a mask is a little too late? I think this is really, really a very sensitive and tough question. Thrown to you by Mr. Chee Kiong Poon, Mr. Poon Chee Kiong. Yes.
Okay. To be honest, I don't think it's too late. If you look at it from of how the situation evolved, there were at the initial part, the numbers were still pretty low. But the moment the government realized that, hey, the numbers were creeping up, there were unidentified clusters appearing, isolated clusters that were popping up, they realized that, hey, the spread is a little bit faster than we expected. And that's where they implemented harsher measures. So I think like I mentioned, they took a very data-driven approach. The moment the numbers show that, hey, I need to take this hard step to stem it off, that's what they did. But at the front, if you think about it, if they had implemented the mask wearing and even the COVID-19 measures in, say, January or February, most people would just laugh and shrug it off, because that was at the start of it. Most people were not too concerned about the numbers. They were like, why is the government being so overreactive? And that could have lured us into a false sense of complacency. So I think the measures were timely, but I guess how effective, we can only look back. But considering the fact that they were looking at it before even the first case was even reported in Singapore, I think it's a pretty balanced measure.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just in the blood of humanity, or maybe in Singaporeans, that when we have something implemented, and then there will be another side of people that says that, hey, why are you implementing this? Why are we doing so many things? Wearing masks is uncomfortable and stuff like this. But if we don't ask them to wear, then there will be another group that keeps on saying that, oh, we need to wear masks. So I guess it's very up to different individuals.
Yeah, I guess hindsight is very perfect. You get to have all the facts. But if you think about it, when they made that call, even to shut down non-essential services, at the point of time, the plans must have already been laid before that, hey, I'm going to kick this in on this date. But the data points at the point, when they made that decision, was probably not complete, and they were making the best answers that they could have. If we had waited for another 2 more weeks, imagine if we started the lockdown today, 2 weeks later, where I think yesterday's case was 900 plus. Yeah. Then everybody will be clamoring, saying that, hey, you did it too slow. But if we had started it 2 weeks earlier, people are saying, why do you want to do it? I think there's no perfect answer here, but I think the government in general is trying what they can based on what the numbers are, what the information is showing them.
I think we just opened up a can of worms. So I think let's just try to answer Chee Kiong for one for this. So he says that Taiwan, Hong Kong, Macau were encouraged to wear masks since February, and their numbers were
significant lower.
Yeah, by statistic, by data, this is something that we cannot deny.
That is true. I think for Taiwan, I think there's always been a tradition of, actually, to be honest, Taiwan and Hong Kong, they always had a culture where people actually do wear masks, even in South Korea. But if you look at it, in South Korea, the numbers were pretty humongous as well. So I guess it was a call that the government had to make based on the numbers that they had. And we also had to bear in mind that as a medic in the army in the past, we have to prioritize certain things. From a medical perspective, we always prioritize life over limbs. But in this case, they had to make sure that the frontline operators had sufficient stocks as well. I'm not defending them, but I'm just saying, could we have done it differently? We could. But what is the real correct answer? I don't think it's fair to say that it is a wrong decision. I think they made it based on whatever information that they had. And I guess when the dust settles, we can really take a look back and how we could do this better. Similar to what we did when we learned from SARS previously.
Yep. All right. So okay. So enough of the COVID. We are still in the topic of COVID, but in a very different thing. How badly do you think the PR and the marketing scene is being affected due to the COVID? The whole situation that we are in. We were talking about the economy and everything. Yeah. So.
Well, I think before we talk about how badly we're hit or where we are at right now, I think there's one thing I want to be absolutely clear that what marketers and PR practitioners should not be doing. I think exploitation is what they should avoid. Because I think since the situation started, like many of us on this video, I think I've received an increased number of emails and ads on social media channels talking to me about the latest promotion. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that businesses should stop their marketing activities because some of these ads, for example, like the meal delivery services, the courier services, they are useful, especially for families who might have children at home or too few members, whereas it might not be practical for them to prepare every single meal. Those services are useful. But I've seen some advertisements which are absolutely ridiculous. Take for example, in early part of Feb, I think that's when the situation was starting to become more severe. I was getting ads from hotels and hotel chains and resorts, which were focusing on promoting their latest holidays or even staycation packages here in Singapore. And this is just ridiculous because they were focusing on making the sale, getting the revenues up, and they simply didn't care about what me as the consumer, as an individual, is worried about. It's just totally blind to what I'm worried about, what I care about. And I think for those brands, they will suffer a backlash later on because people will remember that, hey, during the periods like this, instead of focusing on what is the right thing to do, you're focusing only on sales. And I will say that there will probably be a backlash. That did they get the sales? I don't know. Maybe some people did go for the staycations, sure, but was it really worth that? The brand equity over there just to do something like that.
Agree.
That being said, I said from a revenue standpoint, marketing and PR activities, especially the agencies, definitely we've taken a big hit. I think at this point of time, some companies have redirected their marketing budgets to help support those who are affected by the COVID-19 situation. Offhand, I know at least some of our telcos like StarHub has already done that. They've taken their anniversary budget, use it to support students with lower, who don't have a proper internet connection at home from lower income families.
Right.
Yeah, but there are other companies, I think many more, who are slashing their spends, in a bid to increase the company's liquidity, just to tide through this period. But to be honest, I don't think it's as severe as what we're hearing from the grapevine.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
I mean, I totally second you. I support all the things that you have said, especially the part where we start receiving spam mails, we start receiving spam invites. Then the title is like, are you affected by COVID-19? Or are you struggling or like having trouble working from home and stuff? And then they start to promote their things. I mean, it's pretty much irritating to me. I actually send them all into my junk mail. So, and it's quite terrible.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So yes, and then with regards to whatever you said just now, with all the companies throwing out using their marketing budget and then converting them to help the people who are struggling out there, to help the less fortunate and those people who are greatly affected. In fact, you asked me, do you agree that is a very meaningful way of doing marketing?
Well, I guess a lot of companies do it as part of their CSR, corporate social responsibility. And I think it's a good gesture. To be fair, those are the lower income families are the ones who be the most hard hit. When you start having to stay at home, for such a long period, your income's affected. I think it's a really good gesture. What's the starting point of their motive? I think I would definitely put on a pair of glasses and say that, hey, I'm going to take it at face value that they really want to help. They could have just simply saved the money and and use it when the situation is over. Then of course there'll always be naysayers who say that, hey, they're just using this for publicity, they're taking advantage of the those who are a bit more exposed. I would say that, hey, if that's the case, what are you doing? Why don't you start something and let's promote that and help those who are in need, right? Rather than just picking at every single thing.
Okay, nice, yeah. Okay, great. I totally agree with that. All right, but now since we are talking about how the marketing scene is being affected in a certain way, in a certain form, how do you think? Oh, sorry. Let us see. When do you think we will bounce back? The recovery of. Did we go through this just now?
No, I don't think we have. Recovery for the marketing scene. Well, I for one don't think it's realistic if we are going to expect a recovery in the marketing activities in this quarter. Well, we have been hit pretty hard. If we're expecting everything to go back to normal post Q2, I don't think that's realistic. But that being said, I think that as an industry, we will recover fairly quickly once the whole pandemic is under control. It can sound a little far-fetched considering that earlier I just shared that, yesterday's numbers was 900 plus in terms of new cases. But if you were to take a step back and evaluate it, it's really not that absurd because if you look back into 2002, 2003, when the SARS outbreak occurred, there was an economic slump as well, and it was followed by a very sharp rebound due to pent-up consumer demands shortly after the situation was brought under control, right? Now, yes, that was 10 over years ago, and some people might say that, hey, in the last 10 over years, sorry, actually no, it's not 10 over, I think 17 years. Yeah, in the last 17 years, China has changed a lot. In the past, it was just a producer. Now it's one of the second largest, or if not the largest economy in the world, depending on who you speak to, right? The situation is very different on the ground. I would say that is true, yes. But at the same time, we also need to remember that the governments globally has already learned or had some form of experience dealing with pandemics and what to do in such situations. I think not only have they moved quicker to contain the virus as much as they could, they've also taken steps to make sure that they are protecting their people, their economies. So unless the containment measures are prolonged, way past Q3, I don't think there is a reason to believe that the market recovery patterns will be any different once the situation is controlled.
Right. So it just happened that we were talking about this, and then Chee Kiong actually posted the question. So I guess did we manage to answer your question in Terrence's opinion? Yep. So yeah. Okay. Do you have anything to touch on to his questions?
Sorry, just let me take a look at his questions. I think he's asking, do you foresee a period of more than 6 months? I guess it's when will the numbers peak out and the curve starts flattening out. I think it's really unrealistic to make a projection at this point. So with the current measures in place, you can get it done within the next 1 month from today, even the next 1.5 months from today. I think recovery by the end of year or early next year to a semblance of normalcy is possible. But if it goes past, if the containment measures need to extend another quarter, we could be in for a very rough ride. But right now, I think it'll be very, I think it'll be scaremongering to even make projections because we don't have the numbers right now. And it's not realistic to comment on that.
So like you said, we can only, the best we can is only take reference from the SARS period on.
Correct, in 2020, yeah.
That we take to rebound. All right.
Right.
Okay, so, yep.
Sorry, I think I'm lagging on my side. Is there any...
No, you're not.
I replied. Yeah, Chee Kiong replied. He just gave us a thumbs up.
Oh, Chee Kiong replied. All right.
I was waiting for his response. I saw seeing him typing. Yeah,
yes,
I'll try to answer as many questions as I can.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Chee Kiong, for asking great questions. Yeah, very thought-provoking, and then making us think as well over here. Yeah. All right. So now, how do you think marketing scene is going to evolve? I am very interested in this because as much as to say, hearing from you, my company is always supporting marketing agencies and companies that's doing marketing. We are not to say a marketing agency of ourselves, but we have all the facilities and equipment to actually support marketing campaigns and stuff. So yeah, I would really, really love to hear from you. Yeah.
How the scene will evolve? Okay, this might come across as sounding a little bit selfish, but as a digital marketer,
yes.
I would say that the pandemic is actually good for the marketing scene in the long run. Now, I understand that many of us have been affected by it, to be honest. But if you look at it, for starters, I think the current pandemic has really forced many companies to look at digital transformation, as something they need to take very seriously if they wish to survive. In the past, they always say that, hey, we have more time. There's still people who are in the brick and mortar business. There really isn't that need for transformation. I think now with everybody stuck at home, those companies which really have the processes in place, they're now reaping the benefits. And other companies who wants to survive, if not thrive in this situation, will really start looking at building up the soft skills or hiring an agency to work with them to build these capabilities. And I think it goes beyond just the thinking and the management level. I think from an execution level, the pandemic has also it's going to reshape, if it hasn't already done so, the way marketers think about certain advertising channels, right? For example, if you look at circuit breaker, now that most of us are at home beyond the essential services, companies who are still advertising will be forced to stop their out-of-home activations. It's a given, because otherwise you'll be advertising to the zebra crossings and the horses that are running on the streets, right? But I think this is also a good opportunity for marketers to A/B test in its purest form, because I think if you look at it, realistically we only have a few channels left. We have the traditional channels like TV and radio, where it could be pretty hard for us to repurpose, as marketers, to repurpose the materials that we have to fit into the TVCs with everything on lockdown. So the only real channel where you can make any meaningful change or do any meaningful testings will be on digital. I mean, this change in pace is going to be very painful for many marketers, but I think it will also force companies to start looking at areas of analytics, analytics, CRM systems, because these systems are things that will allow brands to really develop a solution that gives them a central view of the customer. If you look at it, if I'm only able to reach the customer and it's in their homes right now, all the awareness campaigns and all this can be done on digital. But how do I have that singular source of truth, right? I mean, in my experience, brands who are not ready to invest in an expensive customer data platform, what I would recommend them to do would be to start with a data management platform at the very least. Something that we at HM like to call it as the Rapid Audience Layer, or RAL. Now, RAL is basically a cloud-based data management solution that allows for us as marketers. You don't have to be a data scientist. As marketers, as them like myself, you're able to analyze the data. You're able to get insights, and more importantly, you're able to activate the data that you as a brand own. I think if I were to give an past examples like some of our clients in the e-commerce and the retail space, and even publishing, they have implemented a solution like this in the past, where what they did was they consolidated the information from multiple sources, whether is it from social channels, from ads, etc. And what they do is they put them together into a singular location on the cloud, and this becomes the source of truth about the customers. And this information that they've garnered can be processed, managed, and even activated. And at the very least, from what I've seen so far, even in partial activations like this, the media campaigns, the marketing performance campaigns have become a lot more targeted and personalized, because the idea here is to identify the cross-sell and upsell opportunities through data, rather than the spray and pray approach that many marketers are still engaging in today. And this, especially in today's situation where marketing budgets are being slashed, it can be a very cost-effective and powerful solution, because the only thing we have right now is our devices to keep us sane at home.
Right. So all this data is actually put from different sources where the campaigns are being run, and then all thrown into a cloud where the AI will do the analysis and suggest the best campaign.
Correct. Right? So because this is your first party data, you get a singular source of truth. Yeah, but if you want a secret source, reach out to us at HM. Sorry, I just plug in because it's something that took a lot of time to develop. And while it sounds simple in execution, it really does amplify the impact of our marketing activities, because that one source of truth, that singular view, is something that many companies, even at the CMO levels, they lack. I mean, I'm not going to tell you which client, but one of them had actually said this before. It's like us taking the blinds off them for the last couple of years since they started working with us, because now they're able to see that single source of truth. They know what their customers really want.
Yeah. Right. So all marketers out there, or all companies, businesses, if you're out there, you're watching this video and up till this point, or you're rewatching the video up to this point, you know who to look for, HM. But don't forget Successpedia for your productions. All right. Anyway, so in terms of marketing, we spoke about traditional marketing. Events marketing is a very traditional marketing to say. I mean, it's not literally the traditional from the radio, from the TV stations and stuff, but it has been a marketing strategy that has been ongoing for many years. Yeah. And with the shutdown of with circuit breaker, I wouldn't want to say CB okay, yeah, but with circuit breaker, events are being stopped. So how do you see the events marketing side having a change?
Right. Well, I think I have a couple of friends who are in events marketing. They've been hit really bad. But as a industry, I think that they still have a place, because trade shows, conventions are something that are very relevant for certain industries. But how soon they'll take to recover, to be honest, it's really dependent on how long the restrictions will last. Because even after the restrictions are over, I think as a nation, in Singapore and I think worldwide as well, people will become more cautious of large crowds where you have such close proximity. The shadow that COVID-19 has cast upon groups and gatherings, I think there will be that lingering effect for a while. So it's really hard to make any projections. But I do believe it still has its place for particular industries, especially. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe I wouldn't mind sharing my another friend of mine. In fact, Shining Night Market has evolved from a actual space event to a digital event. So it's going to be run in June, and more news is going to be rolled out. I'm just looking forward to how they actually evolved. But before we go to that or even speak about it, Chi Kyong actually asked us another question. Is our most engaging audience today. Thank you so much, Chi Kyong, for staying with us.
Questions are not easy.
Yeah. So he agrees on the forced digital transformation for most businesses, both internally and externally. But since the pandemic outbreak, so does this mean the end of road for traditional marketing? And is it time for traditional media agencies to evolve and move?
Okay. I'm going to be very honest. There are a lot of digital marketers out there who will tell you that, hey, digital is the only way to go. Even though I consider myself to be a digital marketer, I disagree with them because I think that there is a balance, right? The same way Netflix and other streaming apps have disrupted TV, and the tablets and online ebooks have disrupted magazines. There are still certain groups of people who would still prefer the traditional channels, like for example radio. Having someone there's e-radio now, but the fundamental behavior is still the same. It's just the technology has changed and we need to evolve with it. But there will still be a group that will still prefer books. Like for I myself, I love reading books. As in, even if I read an ebook, I'll buy the physical copy and keep it at home. Just because there is a different texture and it's a personal preference. So is it the end of the road for traditional media per se? I would say they have their place, but if you're looking at it in terms of explosive growth they had a decade, 2 decades ago, I think it's very different. And I think, to be fair, I think traditional media agencies have changed. Even locally, I think the broadcasting channels have also started going online with their series that are exclusively available online as well to adapt to this. And even newspapers, they are having online subscriptions. So I think it's an evolving place. The question is, can the brands really adapt to it? And see that, hey, if this is what my consumer wants, how can I pivot to meet their needs, the fundamental needs, in the way that's most convenient to them, rather than just doing what I think is right. That's how Nokia got into trouble, and many other companies that I can name.
Right. Okay. I know you are the guru. Okay. But do you mind if I share some of my thoughts about on this? Yeah.
Yes, please.
So, Chi Kyong, I think to add on to whatever Terrence have actually said, I do believe that there is a balance. Offline marketing and online marketing comes hand in hand. It comes in a pair in certain ways. Take for example, if you see outdoor advertisement, sometimes nowadays they have this QR code, or in fact, please visit the website at this and that, or visit our Facebook for more. So you always have a DOOH outdoor, and then they bring it back online. And then sometimes the online platform will bring it back to outdoor. Like for example, the events, or you need to redeem something at a certain place. And when they go to the place, there's more marketing strategies set out. So you see, I think I totally agree with what Terrence have said, where everything has a place in the whole marketing scene. Am I right, Mr. Guru?
No, I wouldn't say I'm the guru for this, but I would say that you're right. And in fact, if you look at analytics itself, depending on how you set up your system, there are ways for us to integrate the offline data back onto the digital space. And this has been done for some of our clients as well. I mean, we've executed certain campaigns like that, and you're able to see the entire life cycle. Whether certain parents, when they purchase the milk formulas, what was their online behavior to offline. You're able to see the life cycle and really, in that sense, preempt. So you know that the child is currently on the 3 months formula and need to move pretty soon. You're able to proactively send the messaging across and really keep that brand loyalty there. So there is that that synergy there.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Chikyong, for the question. I hope Terrence answered your question. And okay, right now, just moving on. What are the industries that you feel is booming currently, and the industry that might boom after this whole COVID is over? I know I'm not booming. I know my industry is not booming.
I would say that those that are enjoying a boost in revenue right now will be streaming services like Netflix or View. And I think online games is definitely enjoying a boom because everybody needs entertainment to deal with the stress of being at home, being restricted. I think even at my own place, there's at least 2 screens running Netflix every single evening, if not more.
Right.
So that itself tells you about the subscription and everything else, that's happening. I think another area that would likely boom during this period would be F&B establishments, especially those who are optimized for delivery, like for example Pizza Hut, Domino's Pizza. But whereas the local businesses, for example the local hawkers, they are more dependent on the regulars and the footfall traffic. So this might not be a good time for them. I think some of them who are able to pivot with younger family members, helping them build a family business, they might be able to pivot and use deliveries, but that could be a challenging period for them. But if I remember correctly, this morning I got a message. I think, I'm not sure if it's 100% true though. I do believe seeing it on Straits Time was that McDonald's has actually announced that they're suspending all restaurants operations, including deliveries and takeaways. So my earlier point about F&B booming, I'm not sure how long more it will last. Yeah, but I think that this will be the traditional areas.
Right. Yeah, I think I'm one of those that got badly hit by McDonald's stopping all the deliveries because yeah, I love their breakfast. Okay, I'm not doing free marketing for them, but yeah, I like to eat Mac's breakfast. Okay. Yeah, talking about that. Which F&B, which brings me back to the point. Last time there was a time where F&B do their marketing using a lot on influencers, or in fact video marketing to say. So they have their especially videos, people crowdsourcing, people taking the videos of the food, and then some will pay productions like us to do a proper video production for that.
Okay.
But now, given this current situation, we can't even go out there to do their video marketing. We cannot go out there for filming, at least until May. I think it's 4th of May or 5th of May. I can't really remember. I know it's 1 month, but yeah. What are the differences? What do you think? Is live streaming or live video marketing going to come up stronger versus video marketing? And how is it going to leverage on each other in the near future?
I think your questions are going to get me into a lot of trouble with a lot of people.
I'm going to get into trouble by asking this as well. They're going to be like, hey, you got a problem with us, is it?
Well, I guess if I want to be really honest, I say that until the movement restrictions are lifted globally, the role of live videos, even whether you're using influencers, I know some influencers are doing it from their homes. The products are being sent to them where they're doing reviews and trying to incorporate it into part of their daily lives. I think even then, the role of live videos will be very limited. But I think to be more objective, rather than looking at the role of a platform or a format in particular, I think the current situation gives brands the opportunity to use brand storytelling to reinforce positions in the mind of their consumers. Personally, I've seen some very good examples of how brands that have taken existing or even what I would assume to be B-roll footage, and with a simple voiceover, they have changed it into something that is very relevant to the current situation, while staying true to their brand values. And this is how brand storytelling really works. I think the most creative example I've seen so far is the one by Domino's Pizza.
All right.
They're not my client, but if you go online and you Google it, Google for contactless delivery from Domino's, you'll notice there's this video about a guy in his shirt and without trousers. He has boxers on, and he's singing at home, and he's showing that, hey, I'm able to order pizza and get it sent to me without even having to leave my house, without having to have that human contact. And I think this is how brands are able to pivot and, in a sense, still remain relevant in this period. I think if you look beyond F&B, I think F&B, there's plenty of examples. If you look at beyond F&B, I think Hotel.com and Uber. Surprisingly, in the US, they have adapted their existing assets, to encourage people to stay at home. Now, this is very surprising to me as a marketer because they are choosing to support what is right. Right? If you look at it, Hotel.com and Uber, it's all about transportation, it's about hospitality. They should be encouraging people to drive sales, and if they don't, it will be more ideal for them to reserve the budgets for that, right? And
very curious about the Domino Pizza thing. So let us try to find the video. But in the meantime, sorry, Terrence, I interrupted you.
No worries.
I cut you off at the wrong time.
No problem. I think that's a delay on my side as well. Yeah. So as I was saying, for brands like this, they choose to do what is right, and I think this will really help cement their position in the mind of the consumers. And this is what brand storytelling really is about. So it's not really the platform that you're using, whether it's live video, traditional pre-films, or social media platforms. It's not really about that. It's about how do you tell the story of what your brand stands for, the values it stands for, rather than just going for the sale, I guess.
Right. Okay. Yeah, we have the video. Can we put that video up again? All right. Yeah. So guys, this is why is my name still up there? No, that's not Terrence. Terrence is not the phone. Sorry.
Terrence is not the phone.
Terrence is not the phone. Terrence is not the phone.
But it is the video.
Evolved and changed into a phone. Let me just remove that.
No worries.
All right. Yes. Yeah. Can we play this video? This is the one that Terrence was talking about. Is there a sound to it? There's no music to it. Yeah, but this is the video that Terrence was talking about, the Domino's Pizza, right?
Yeah, I think even locally there are some other examples where I think even Pizza Hut has also started running some ads, similar ads. But I think this was the one that really focused on the contactless aspects of things, and you can tell from the video that this is obviously previously shot footage, and they just did a voiceover of it and changed. I'm not sure if they changed the background music, but I think it brought home the message for me at least.
Right. Okay, we actually have a question from Nicole. Hi, Terrence.
Okay.
I would like to ask what kind of digital business solution should brand hop onto, produce in order to stay afloat?
Okay. Digital solutions. I think this is a pretty open-ended question. But I think I mentioned earlier, besides brand storytelling, it's really about having that one source of truth. And that's where you're able to evaluate, hey, as a business, do I really have something to offer my clients, my consumers at this point of time? Because with the uncertainty, consumers will be more picky than ever. And they'll be really saying that, hey, if I get something, I really must add a value to me, whether is it making my life easier at home, helping me to sustain, staying at home for weeks on end. And I think that's the part where you really need to look at it. And I think we need to take a page from people like Uber and Hotels.com as well, where even though it's against their business interests, they choose to do what's right and wait for the time where the market recovers before doing the bounce backs, before re-engaging and going for it. Because if you're looking at just trying to stay afloat, if you don't really have a view of your clients by now, whatever solution you come up with is going to be very, to be honest, very piecemeal, just to plug the hole. But of course, if you really have data and all this, and you have a sense of what the trends are showing you, that is where you really dive into the numbers, play the scenarios out, double down. And I think this is what most analysts data analysts would do, to really plug that hole and keep things going till the situation turns for the better.
So at the end of the day, still the best thing to lean onto will still be statistics and numbers to make sure that the marketing dollars don't go to the longkang lah. Let's use a bit of English there. Don't go to the longkang lah. Yeah.
I'll say let's not base it. But because maybe I'm a bit more biased because I came from a operations background where I look at numbers, what the numbers tell me, and and how it matches with the business objectives from my account management days. So I guess that is where I would start. Is there a creative way to do it? Sure, there is, but without understanding which business, it is a bit hard for me to respond to that question.
Right. Well, I guess, Nicole, for myself, I will feel to me, like Terrence, I'm a bit biased as well because coming from the productions and media more angle to it. So to us is anything that is creative or in terms of video, something different, something out of the box. To me, that is always the best for me lah. That is always how we put ourselves first. We want something different. We want something creative. To move a marketing campaign. So that is always on top of our priority list rather than data and statistics.
I think that's where the difference is. So for me, I realized that you get the best result when you can combine both. And between the two, depending on what product you're selling, sometimes data drive the way. Other times it's the creativeness of the campaigns that drives the way. But in general, if you're able to look at data, you're able to see, what really resonates. And even then you can say that, hey, this creative has a X percentage chance higher of being successful. I mean, I always hear a customer saying, hey, what do I need to do to make it go viral? And I think my colleague Carmen, who handles the brand storytelling in the company, he goes crazy whenever he hears that. Because for it to really go viral, I mean, when you go viral, you must understand what they want in the first place and present it to them in a way that fits your brand. It's not just about creating content and, this will go viral because it's funny. No, I mean, they might laugh at it, but if it doesn't sell your product, it doesn't sell your brand, there is no point.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me just reassure and reaffirm you there is no such thing as a viral video.
It can go viral, but there's no way to build one.
Yes, correct. There is such thing as a viral video, but there's no way to teach you how to create a viral video. Okay, sorry, no, I got too overly excited. Yeah. All right. Now, our session is a bit longer. Terrence, do you mind? Because we have more engagement today. Yeah.
Sure.
So how is it like? How is it like working from home? We get a little bit personal. All right.
Okay. Since we're getting personal, do you want to hear the truth or no? Jokes aside.
Yeah, I want to hear the truth.
You want to hear the truth, yeah? Okay. Okay. Jokes aside, I think honestly, I think I've been very fortunate because here at HM, I think we've never been particular about where we work from, because I think as a company we've always emphasized on getting the job done, and it's not just checking checkboxes, but delivering the business objectives for our clients and even internally as well. So from a working from home perspective, it hasn't changed in terms of the style of things. It hasn't changed that much, so we are not as badly affected. But that being said, I haven't left my place, not even to throw the garbage, since the circuit breaker started. So I've been trying to set the example of staying at home totally, 100%. So it's starting to get a little bit challenging. But as an organization, I think I need to give a shout out to my colleague Mela from my HR department. She started this happy morning huddle, which I think it's called Happy Morning Huddle. Yeah, where she basically has a online workout session where we join each other on Zoom. And at 8:45 every single morning, where there's exercise going on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And she's also arranged, I don't know how she managed to do it, but she managed to get time with my CEO, Rachit, as well as other partners like Prante, Kawadesh, and the rest, where they do soft skill training with the team, with the rest of the larger team. And because we have delivery teams that overseas, she actually replicates it for them at their 8:45 every morning as well. So it becomes something that is that starts the day right. And I think this is important because if you start the day off doing mundane tasks like looking at emails, responding to emails, and it becomes very draining on your head, especially when you're working from home. So starting the day off with a bang, for the lack of a better word, has been pretty helpful in terms of maintaining our mental health. But on my own, I think that maintaining a routine is one of the most important things. For example, I create little segregations in time. So when I wake up, I still wash up, dress up, not really dress up, but at least prepare as if I was going for work. And I make sure that I set my workstation apart from everything else as a fixed place. So as a result, I have little routines that I'm able to keep to. And I think I've brought it to the point where even my lunches, my dinners, there are reminders on my calendar that is helping, which is basically at 1 o'clock, it'll beep and say, hey, time for lunch. At 6:30, time to start preparing for dinner. And if let's say I have a really packed day, I make sure that I block up 15 minute slots to just disengage, which is like a breather. And I think this is really important because it helps you to keep that mental stability for yourself. I've been trying to keep a open Zoom room for my team, and I think they are finding it funny to come in at random times just immediately after my meetings to see if I'm still there. But yeah, I think that little interaction, that human interaction, even though we are physically distant, it can still happen through technology.
Oh, great. Yeah. So speaking of which, do you think this could spark a new trend of how we work? Like if after this COVID, and then companies start to realize that, hey, if this guy works from home, he's actually more effective because you are a very data-driven guy. I wouldn't say driven, but to a reasonable extent, yes, which I also second and agree. Sometimes we do at data. So if the data shows that, hey, employee A, B, C works better from home during this COVID as compared to when they were in our office. Yeah, and then the efficiency actually dropped. We talk about maybe in production or the way things are done, not done properly. Yeah. So do you think this will spark a new trend where selected employees are made to work at home?
I think for organizations, larger organizations at least, it is something that's really being done. Where they put a certain essential employees that need to be in the office, like administrative and all this. Sorry, not maybe administrative, IT support and all this in the office. And they have a hot desking solutions similar to what we have in the offices as well. And for the rest, you're given an option to do where you want to. I think the resistance is really from the ground because if you look at it, the workforce which is slightly older, they are used to work being work, as in having a desk, my chair, and in that particular setup. I guess the real resistance is from the ground, from the individuals rather than organizations. But if you think about it, now that we've tried 1 month of it here in Singapore, I think it's pretty obvious who can adapt and who can't. There might be a possibility there, and it's good for companies because you get to have cost savings in terms of rentals and everything else because you don't need that many desks.
Yes.
Of course, you'll say you maintain a certain amount of spaces, but there isn't a reason why I really need to be in the office when I could be doing it at a cafe or somewhere where it's more productive.
Yeah. I know for myself, I work better. I'm more efficient at home and in cafes and stuff. So, yeah. I guess it's probably much because in the production and creative industry, when you throw me into a place where I have 4 walls and an office environment, the creativity actually drops unless we turn the studio into really a studio. But being a small company, we share spaces. We cannot do this. We can't do that. Yeah, it's a little bit tough. Yeah. So So as I was thinking about having the environment to push my creativity, we talk about the environment to stay positive for yourself. You sound very positive. I feel you're positive in this current situation. So maybe can you share with the viewers how are you positive?
I would think I'm realistic. My colleagues might have something to say about that, but I think in general, I think positive is based on what you're measuring against. If you're measuring against someone who is really high energy or extrovert by nature, of course, then I'll be, considered a little bit more subdued, right? But I will say that at this point of time, I think I'm pretty positive, pretty realistic about where I am and the current situation. Yeah, but I mean, if you think about, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but how do you stay? Is there any recipe? I mean, if we don't match it to the extroverts or people who have high energy level, maybe you match it to an in between like me, neither here nor there.
Okay.
How do you kind of stay positive?
I would say that your mental health is important. I think just now I mentioned some boundary crossing activities like preparing for work, having that workspace, even making sure that you take the breaks. If you need to set an alarm for it, so be it. I think that's really important. But I think on that note, if you really want to stay positive, you need to be really realistic. To be honest, I don't think it's possible for us to maintain a strict 9 to 5 schedule for all of us, especially for those with children at home. And I think that is perfectly okay. And as individuals, we need to be, even as not just individuals, but as managers, we need to realize that as well. Because if I have a child who is 3 years old and or 4 years old, and daddy and mommy is at home the whole day, the child would want to play with you. And there are days where the child insists on having their ways, being children, right? And it's fine, right? But I think more importantly, rather than looking at how many hours we clock, I think it's more important for us to look at to identify the most important work that we can do and work on those instead of just focusing on the hours. We focus on the impact per se. I think that would be a very good pivot because when you're working from home, your neighbors are not there. You don't know if enough is enough. You don't really see the impact of your work. It's easy to start doubting yourself. And I think this is something that we at HM we've always been emphasizing. It's not about the hours. The work will always fill the number of hours available. It is about the impact that you have with it. Yeah,
Right.
So I think this is something that's very subconscious, and I think it's very unhealthy in the long run because you really risk developing burnout over time if you just focus on hours and you don't have that clear disconnect.
Right. Yeah. Do you know? I just share a little bit. Do you know how I stay positive with my partner Kelvin? We go online for meetings and stuff like that, and then we get burnt out, or we feel that when I'm tired or when he's tired, there's only one thing that we would do. It's like, do you want to play game? Okay, yeah. Then we'll go on to a hyper, and then we start playing game. We'll play 1-2 game, and then we go back to work. So
that's fine because you do take a break, and after you go back to being productive. Because think about it, if you didn't take that 15-20 minutes off to have a coffee, to take that break, to recharge yourself, what you're going to do is you're going to spend hours clicking away and not being productive. So it's a waste of time, not just your time, but the company's time as well. So might as well take that short break and come back fully focused. There's nothing wrong with that.
So it's the same as organizations with office, and then they have their leisure room, they have their rest area. What do we call that? They set it up properly with maybe like ping pong. They play ping pong, some sports equipment, some game equipment and stuff like this for people to rest. Okay. Yep. All right. So coming to an end, Terrence, I would like to hear from you. What is your greatest wish? I ask all my guests. So everyone has different. So just imagine if I'm a genie. I say that I think by the end of this series, I will be known as the little genie. Because my question is, if I'm the genie in the bottle, and I can grant you one wish, what would that wish be?
If this was a beauty pageant, I would say, world peace. But, what I wish I can say something more inspirational. I think that having not left the house for so long, I think the thing that I really miss most about right now is being able to go out for a game of basketball with my friends. And after that, go back, find a nice, proper Japanese restaurant and just have some good sashimi. It sounds really simplistic, but to me right now, I just want for this to be over, that we can resume a semblance of normalcy. Yeah, and just doing the things that we really love. So I love my job, but being able to have sashimi with fresh wasabi in the restaurant right now is like, yep.
If you go for a game of basketball, please remember to just invite me.
I'll call you along. Yes.
Yeah. Just come here. I think it's been a long time since I actually really truly exercise as well. So it's driving us nuts. I feel you, man. I feel you.
Yeah.
All right. So all right. Before we round it up, to the audiences, Terrence, do you have anything to say to our audiences?
Anything to say?
Before that, Brian, Daniel says hi. Daniel says, positive Terrence. Yes, I agree. Is this your friend, right?
Yes, it's one of the grassroots leaders. One of my fellow grassroots leaders. Hey, Daniel.
Right. Hey, Daniel. Yes, a mutual friend. I know Daniel too. Yeah, greatest wish, eat good milk. Yes, me too. Yes. Let's eat good milk. We'll go to a place, Pop Jai Thai, for the best Thai food.
I'm sorry, Daniel. I want sashimi right now more than Thai food, but I'll come find you soon.
Yeah, we go for sashimi first, then secondary Pop Jai Thai.
Sure.
Yeah, but those Thai food lovers, Pop Jai Thai is the place to go. All right. Yeah. So yes. So the last question for you before we call it the day. It's been a long afternoon. Yeah. What would you like to say to the viewers?
I think what I want to say to anyone who's watching this video is that while the current situation can seem really scary and uncertain, especially for those small business owners, and those of us who are in the middle class, I think it's still possible for us to thrive and not just survive, And right now, the difference between the company failing, the company surviving, or even thriving it's the way we really process the information that we're getting at this point of time. Because if you think about it, if we adopt a wait and see approach and only act when it's safe, the result is going to be failure because you didn't take the opportunity, or survival at best because you managed to get some results, but you missed the boat literally, right? The ones who will really thrive, I think, especially in such uncertain times, are those who accept the situation for what it is, right? And then once you're able to figure out the worst case scenario and what's the worst possibility, you start working harder to get better results in the worst case scenario, and you just keep repeating this over and over again. This might seem like a small insignificant win to be just better than worst case, but when you start piling them up over time, it's like compound interest. The wins start snowballing, and very soon, next thing you know, that hey, you've actually really broken away from the pack and what everyone else is doing. So if you're able to take this approach, I think while you're not able to control everything that happens to you, or neither can it guarantee success, but it does gives you a way to be very realistic while being positive, and that it's going to be a lot better than what the world says it is, because most of the time we just give in to our fears. So if you're able to just take stock of where you are right now, get realistic about what you want to start working towards by the end of the circuit breaker, and I think most importantly, you need to remain hopeful, that sense of hope, and just basically own everything you touch, no matter how small a win it might seem like, because this will have a cumulative impact over the long run.
Right. Yeah, I think yes, hope is very important, and I also agree. Own everything you touch, but viewers, remember, everything you touch also please sanitize. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah. All right. So viewers, I hope you have a great time with Terrence. Terrence, thank you so much for your time. And we are very very honored and blessed to have you, strong marketeer with solid background, with long years of experience being with us, answering so many questions. Thank you so much, Terrence.
No worries, Desmond. Pleasure being here.
All right. So maybe shall we say goodbye to your audiences first?
Okay, guys, take care, stay positive. See you guys soon.
All right. Goodbye, Terrence. All right. Yes. So thank you so much, viewers, for your time, and we hope you had a great time with Terrence and myself. Now, tomorrow, who do we have? We will be having with us someone from Philippines. His name is Jonathan Cho. So he is actually the founder of a B2B car show. He runs an events company in Philippines, Manila, actually. And B2B car show is actually the largest in Philippines, traveling all around the whole of Philippines, not just in Manila. So they travel even to Subic, to different places. And they even brought their show all the way to US, all right? I can't recall. Tomorrow, let's have a chat with him. Yes, but if you are from the events industry, or if you're also into marketing and you want to know more about how globally events marketing have actually changed, all right? Yes, tomorrow, please do join us. What time? Can we bring that up again? All right. Yes, tomorrow at 8 p.m., 20th April, 8 p.m., join us on Facebook and YouTube Live. All right. And I'm back. Get me back? Yes. Magic. All right. So thank you so much. And we'll see you again on Successpedia Asia's Journey to Success Resilience series. We'll see you tomorrow.